Hi, welcome to the National Music Academy. I'm Mitchell, and today we're going to be talking about live sound mixing. So in a previous video, we talked about how to set up a PA system. So today, we're talking about how to tune your PA system to sound the best that it can be. So I'm going to be touching on some information about sound engineering and what engineers would do to get the perfect sound. So mixing consoles are one of the most important factors of a live sound system. Some mixing desks can be really massive and can accommodate for a lot of instruments. So for a smaller PA system, you'd be looking at something like this Yamaha MG10XU. So this particular mixing console has the same kind of functionality as medium and semi-large mixing consoles. So today, I'm going to go through and show you what all these different knobs do and how you can utilize them in your own sound. So it's got 7 different channels, but for live sound, you mainly use these first 4. I'm just going to go through the different parts of each channel and explain what each of these knobs do. So first up at the top, we have the input. So whatever guitar or microphone you have, you plug it into there. So next up, we have the pad function. Now the pad function helps attenuate the sound and it helps towards eliminating some of the distortion of stuff coming in. And to activate that, you just click that in. Next up, we have a high-pass filter. So what a high-pass filter does, it eliminates all the unwanted frequencies from the bass region. This is stuff like wind or unwanted vibrations coming into the microphone. It eliminates any sound from below 80 Hz. And to activate it again, you press the button. Next up, you have the gain knob. So the gain is the first of the volume knobs for the channel. It controls how much of the signal is going through the rest of the channel. So with the gain knob, you never want it all the way up, you never want it all the way down, you want it somewhere in the middle. This sets up the foundation for a good gain structure. So this means that when you're fixing up the channel volume as well as the overall volume, you never have to have it all the way up to hear anything or all the way down to stop it from being too loud. Next up, we have compression. Now compression's been mentioned in a couple of the rig rundowns we've done. Essentially, it narrows the dynamic range of the sound coming in. This means that the really quiet sound coming in is boosted and the really loud sound coming in is cut. Again, it's all about what kind of dynamic range you want to come out. If you want it to be pretty loud consistently, you put it to around maybe 3 o'clock. If you want more of a range, you'll bring it down to maybe around the lower area. Really heavy compression also sometimes affects the tone as well. So speaking of tone, we're moving on to these 3 green knobs, which is your parametric equalization or your parametric EQ. So unlike the graphic EQ we mentioned earlier, the different frequencies are grouped into 3 different groups: the high frequencies, the mid frequencies, and the low frequencies. So by turning up the high frequencies, you'll find the sound becomes a lot more tinny and a lot harsher on the ears. Turning it down makes it more muffled. So boosting the mids gives you like a really full, weighty sound, but in opposition, scooping it out means that the sound becomes a lot more hollow. Finally, we have the low frequencies. So it's pretty basic. If you turn it up, the sound becomes a lot more bassy, and if you turn it down, it becomes less bassy. If your PA system's set up in a corner where a lot of bass frequencies are being collected, it's a good idea to reduce it to balance it out. So this unit comes with a bunch of built-in effects, from some reverb to some delay, some phaser and some flanger as well. It only allows one effect at a time, which overall is controlled by pressing this button in to activate it and controlling the level with this knob here. If you only want a particular channel to have the effect, like you only want the effect on your vocals or just on your guitar, you turn down everything else and you have it just on the one there. From there you can control how much of the effect is being applied to the channel. Next up, this red knob is the pan. So if you have 2 speakers, like a left speaker and a right speaker, you can choose to make the sound come out of only the left or only the right. If you have a 1 speaker setup, it doesn't really matter. It should really stay in the middle. However, if you have, say, 2 vocals and a guitar, you can have the vocals going to different speakers and the guitar coming out of both too. Next up, this little red light is the peak. So whenever this little light comes on, it lets you know that there's too much signal coming through and it's going to start to distort. All you got to do is experiment with the gain and with the main volume knob to make sure that the light's not coming on as frequently. Last of all, we have the main volume for this entire channel. So these other 4 channels are pretty much the exact same, except we also have the included function of phantom power. So phantom power is used to power a condenser microphone, which are usually a little more sensitive but give a clearer sound. So moving to this channel here at the top, you have your 2 1/4-inch jack inputs, which are your unbalanced inputs. So this is for plugging instruments that are unbalanced, such as maybe an electric keyboard. These 2 units here are for you to put in your left and right aux chord channels. So if you want to play some music through your phone during a gig, you plug into either these two or these two. Finally, to this blue section here are the outputs. So these sections are connected to the speakers of your PA system. These two monitor inputs are for if you want to have a fallback with your PA system, and the volume for them is controlled by the monitor phone's knob there. Speaking of phones, there is an output for headphones if your sound engineer wants to be able to hear your sound in more detail. Finally, we have the outputs for your main left and right speakers. These are the speakers that will be facing out towards the audience. The volume for your main out speakers are controlled by this red knob, the level stereo output. That's it for this mixing console. The functions of this one are very similar to other ones in the market and contains the basic features that you see on a large one at a larger venue. Finally, let's have a chat about sound checks. So a sound check is exactly what it sounds like. It's checking the sound of your performance before you perform. For larger venues, and especially for gigs with a large group of people, sound checks are really important to really nail down the sound for the rest of the night. Not doing a proper sound check for your performance could mean that the music could be too loud, or it could be too soft, or the tones could be off. Overall, it can impact how the audience perceives the musician. A good tip for sound checks is to test out your loudest song, or test out a partner song that's particularly loud, so you can get a gauge of what the max volume for your evening will be. Also good to test out softer parts of songs, so any compression or any cues can be lined up. It's also really good to be efficient with your sound check to make sure that you're going in, doing a sound check, and getting out as quickly and as easily as possible. So not a lot of time is usually allocated to a sound check, and usually patrons don't like hearing sound levels being fixed around while they're trying to enjoy the night. If you're doing a show by yourself without an engineer and you want to do your own sound check, the best recommendation I can have is have a fallback. Like I said in the PA system video, a fallback is a little speaker that faces the musician so they can hear what's coming out of the main speakers. By having your fallback in front of you and having your mixing desk to the side, you should be able to attune your sound to get the sound that you want. It's also good to talk to people in the audience to see if the sound is too loud. So that's it for today's vlog. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're interested in learning more about live sound engineering or mixing or how to tune your PA system, contact us. Our descriptions are down below. We have some fantastic teachers who are giggy musicians who can give you some great advice. I'm Mitchell. We'll see you guys in the next video.